Hey guys, it's Kevin, my review for Fighting With My Family. And what Fighting With My Family is essentially about is we center on the Beavis family, and this is a family that isn't really the most financially stable, but they are all massive fans of wrestling, whether they were wrestlers or just are fans of it. Our two characters that we focus on the most, though, are Paige and Zach. These two, throughout their entire lives, have been just huge fans of wrestling. It's something that is very important to them, and one day they're actually given the chance to meet with a coach of WWE. They both think that they're going to go through, but only Paige ends up going through and Zach is rejected. And the rest of the film is seeing Paige basically learning to become a professional wrestler and what that takes, and also trying to see Zach find a career path and things like that, and seeing, Paige career start to flourish, and that's really all I'm going to say. So, Fighting My Family overall, I was very interested in this film. And look, this is coming from a guy that really does not care all that much about WWE. I know it's a big thing. I give a lot of guts to anyone that would want to do it. I certainly would not be able to do something like that, but it's just not something that particularly interests me. So, you would think a movie like this, I wouldn't really care all that much, but the marketing for this film was so strong, and it had such a great cast, and the premise seemed really interesting, and I was just really hoping this could be a really good film. And honestly, Fighting With My Family was even better than I was expecting. I really love this film a lot. I think this is a very well done biopic for sure, and we're just getting to right now, starting off with the cast. And as expected, that's one of the best parts of this entire film. I think every single member here is very much on their A game. I think everyone really did work to their fullest potential. However, the person that just carries this entire film is, without a doubt, Florence Pugh, who, after this film, I think is going to be a huge star moving forward. Now, I've seen her in some things before. She's popped up in a few little things I've seen here and there. However, I think after this film, she really has impressed me. I mean, the amount of range she has in this role is just remarkable to watch. You can tell this is someone who was very eager to play this role of Paige, and she just does a really great job. The arc that Paige goes through, you really do feel it here. The layers that she has, I thought, was very well portrayed by Pugh. You could see that she did a lot of hard-earned research into this character. She's very likable, but then there are times where you can see, that she is starting to go a little too far, and you aren't always on her side. She just does a really great job of portraying a real person. She doesn't try to make Paige look like a perfect person, and I think she did that very well here. I was very impressed by her role here, just the layers of emotion that she brings to the table, and just the commitment that she has. You don't usually see someone that is in her position where she is as an actress right now, have this type of range. It was incredible to watch, and it makes me very interested in seeing where she is going to go moving forward. She's got a lot of gigs coming up if in the next year. She's got an Ari Aster film, the big one being Little Women, and that's something I am just very excited to see. I already really did respect her as an actress, but after this film, she's definitely an actress I'm going to keep an even closer watch for, because I think she was phenomenal in this film. But not much of a surprise is Jack Lowden as Zach, who always brings it, I think, in pretty much everything I've seen him in, and this is no different. In fact, I think this is probably his strongest performance yet. He has a very challenging role here because, unlike Paige, Zach is someone who is so dedicated to wrestling. It's what matters for him. He has personal struggles going on in his life, and he kind of uses wrestling as a way to help, him pay for things and things like that. And it really is his passion in that way. And to see it being taken away from him, it is very sad to watch. And I think Loudon portrayed it in a very honest manner. Where his character goes, it is a bit predictable, but it's very well done. I loved where he ended up going. I think he had some incredible moments throughout the film, and the chemistry between these two really does heighten the entire film. It's very easy to buy into their relationship. You see how they really do support each other. You see that the passion that they really do have, how much they care about one another, and I just really did love seeing that, and I think the film is worth seeing alone just for the chemistry between Pugh and Loudon. I thought they both were on their A game here. As far as the rest of the cast goes, again, they're also great. Lena Headey and Nick Frost are both fantastic in this film. I really do like what they did here. Like I said before, the entire family just works so well together. I think they all have really great chemistry. You really do buy into their roles here, and I was very impressed by everyone. Someone who surprised the hell out of me was Vince Vaughn. I was not expecting him to be as fantastic as he was here, but he has this one scene with Paige in the middle of the film almost had me near tears, honestly. I thought he was astounding in this movie. I was so shocked by how good he was here, but he was just fantastic. And between things like this and Hacksaw Ridge, he really is proving himself to be such a fantastic actor, and I really wish we'd see more of him because he is a very great dramatic actor, and films like this very much do show that. Dwayne Johnson is in this movie, but not nearly as much as you expect. He's really in the movie for about maybe like 10 to 15 minutes. But again, I'm not going to complain that much. What he still has, he does a really good job with. Everyone really, like I said, is fantastic here. I really do think everyone was on their A game for sure. Now let's get to the directing and the writing by Stephen Merchant, which, once again, for me, someone who's not interested in WWE, that's something that I was the most worried about. Is this going to be a story that holds my interest? Is this going to be a story that isn't just catered to WWE fans? And I think Merchant did the right thing with this film, is that he doesn't make the whole film about WWE. It's very focused on the family. I mean, the movie is called Fighting With My Family for a reason, so that should be a no-brainer. But in all seriousness, like, it is really focused on the family, and it really is telling a story about a family that is just really trying to get by, and the way he exhibits it in both the comedy, which the comedy in this film is so good. There's so many hilarious scenes throughout this movie, some that just had me absolutely dying of laughter. One dinner scene in particular, in the very beginning, I thought was absolutely hysterical, and I love where they went with that. But because of how great the comedy is, the dramatic moments stand out that much more, and you really do feel that emotion. You really do feel that passion that he put into this film. I mean, you can tell Merchant is someone who really did care about this story, and that's very well shown through his directing. I was very impressed by it, but the writing as well also really did impress me, because I think the way he told the story was very well done. This is not a biopic about Paige Beavis. Sure, that is a part of it, but like I said, it really is about the family. Especially very early on, they get you to see the situation that this family is in. This is not a normal family. This is not a family that is that well off. In fact, they really aren't doing all that great. I mean, Nick Frost, for example, is an ex-con. He's gotten himself into some really deep shit. So he kind of has a problem where he can't really project his emotion all that much because he already is, on the watch and things like that. They have a brother that's in jail. Financially, they're not really doing that well either. They don't really have the greatest life. And again, it really is that wrestling that is their outlet in that way. It's the thing that really does keep them going, and I think that was just really well portrayed here. I was very happy with the way they handled that. And when it comes to Paige and Zach, you really again see that passion these two have for wrestling and why it matters so much to them. And to see one of them excel at it and to see the other one stripped away, it is heartbreaking, and I think they handled that quite well. But again, it never gets too melodramatic. It never falls into TV movie standard. It actually does feel very real. It feels like a very real situation because it did happen, and I thought they handled that quite well here, especially when it comes to Paige as a wrestler. When the movie's starting off, you're kind of wondering, why would she get picked over Zach? I mean, Zach is someone who, he has his own personal, ring of kids that he is training to become wrestlers as a way to sort of deal with the stresses of their lives, similar to how he does. He knows pretty much every wrestling move that there is. I mean, he is very advanced. Why would they pick Paige? Well, again, I'm not going to spoil why, but she does have something that Zach doesn't, and I like seeing her transformation throughout this film because wrestling in general, it's a lot harder for her than she really does anticipate. And to see her go through that story, I thought was really well done. And I really did like where they end up going with her. But the other thing that really did surprise me with this film is that it's not just those two characters that are all, very well fleshed out. Every single one of the characters in this movie feel like real human beings. No one feels like a stereotype. No one feels watered down. Even Vince Vaughn has a lot more dimension to him than I really was expecting. I already talked about that scene between him and Paige, and honestly, I was really surprised because in the beginning of the film, you think he's just going to be that, that coach that's just kind of a hard ass and is always pushing them, but there's a lot more to him than I was expecting, and I was very surprised with the way they handled that. I think they did a really good job with taking the story seriously, but not being afraid to have a lot of fun with it. But again, at the same time, keeping things real and authentic. And that's something that I was very impressed with here. Also, as I stated before, Dwayne Johnson is really not in this movie a lot, and that really is to the film's benefit. The trailer, for some, kind of made it seem like they were going to reference him a lot and maybe make a lot of wrestling in-jokes, and, that could come off as them trying to cater to a specific audience, but they wisely refrain from doing that, except for certain parts in the film. Like, you do see a John Cena thing, you do see some jabs at, like, some other wrestlers, but again, it is very focused on the family, and I thought it was a very smart move to not have Dwayne Johnson have a really big role because it's not his film. It's about the family, and I think it was good that he still had stuff to do, but they didn't make the whole thing, about him. It wasn't him and Paige, and I'm glad that that wasn't what we got here. So, honestly, I can understand if some people think he's underused, but for me, I'm actually glad that they didn't use him quite a lot, because I think it was a very smart move in hindsight. In terms of cinematography, this film is also very well done. There are a lot of really great shots here, especially during the training montages and things like that. It is really well done, and I really did enjoy a lot of what they were trying to do here. There's a lot of us seeing things through Paige's eyes, and I thought they handled that very well. Nothing truly, remarkable, but I still thought it was really good cinematography, especially, like I said, the fight scenes were definitely on point here. The score as well is really good. Not really used a lot, but when it's used, it is definitely very effective. And the editing. Now, this is where some people might run to an issue. There are a few things that this film does jump around with. However, because of how much the film does take its time throughout most of the movie, I can't really fault it for that. That wasn't really a problem with me. I thought this film was very well paced. I was into it pretty much the entire time. There wasn't a single point where I wasn't into this film, and I thought they handled it quite well. In regards to flaws, though, getting into that, there are a few things that do weigh down this film just a bit. Now, like I said, almost every single character I think is very well fleshed out. That is aside from these three other girls that Paige is with when she's at NXT. Now, I thought at first these three girls were going to be very annoying. I thought they were going to be very one-notes, and I just thought they were going to be very stereotypical Mean Girls, and there's a point in the film where we realize that's not really what they are, and I thought, okay, that's a really great idea. I like that we're getting into that, but they don't expand upon it, and I think there was a missed opportunity because we get sort of like a montage of Paige sort of like bonding with these girls and things like that, but we don't really get to go as into it as I really would have wanted to, and I do think there was a bit of a missed opportunity. Also, when Paige is eventually approached by Dwayne Johnson and things like that, what ends up happening to her, I'm not going to spoil it, but there is a certain event that happens in the movie towards the end, and it just feels a little unbelievable, mainly because of how rushed it really does feel, and through talking to some friends that are bigger fans of WWE, know way more than I do, it definitely did not play out quite that way. So that did feel a little bit rushed for sure. and I do think there are a few characters that could have had just a little bit more to do overall, but for the most part, I can't really complain. I loved Fighting With My Family, and again, coming from a guy who is not into WWE really all that much at all, really does not care all that much about it, that's saying a lot here. Florence Pugh and Jack Lowden carried this entire thing, especially Florence Pugh, who, like I said, is going to be a huge star after this film for sure. It really does capture, you know, the passion that both Paige and Zach have for WWE, why Paige became the champion that she did. It also does a really good job, I think, of showing, you know, the success of this family and telling this really great family story of them trying to move forward even when things are really hard for them. It's very entertaining. It's very fun. It's just everything that you really could want out of a really great biopic. It's not emotionally manipulative. It does not shove it down your throat. It can get a bit predictable at times for sure, but for me personally, that's not really a complaint at all. At the end of the day, like I said, I enjoyed this way more than I expected to. I think this is definitely going to be a very overlooked film towards the end of the year. I really don't see too many people talking about this one, unfortunately. Hopefully it gets more talk, because I honestly would like to see more, because this is a fairly recent story. Like, what we're seeing in this film only happened about 4 years ago. There's so much more you can tell with Paige's characters. I honestly would want to see a little bit more. I think it'd be cool that they are shedding light on who Paige was, because a lot of people don't know. You know, for me, people who aren't into WWE, they don't know that story, and I think it's really great that they're finally finding that outlet to finally tell that story, and I'm hoping if this film is successful, we could get maybe a little bit more from her, because there still is a lot more to tell for sure. But still, I really did adore this film, and I'm definitely going to give Fighting With My Family overall an A-. So over, guys, in my review, Fighting With My Family, the most guys saw this movie overall. Left your thoughts, and we'll see you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.